Hey guys, it's Tony with Backwoods Biker Magazine and Wood Tramp Outdoors. We have done all of our homework and tested the knives, and we've came up with the 2021 Knife of the Year. Hang tight, and we'll talk to you a little bit about it before we go any further. All right, we'll just keep shooting, okay? All right, guys, welcome back. There was three knives that. Normally, let me back up a little bit. Normally what we do is we have at least 5 to 6 knives that are nominated for Knife of the Year. But because of COVID, because of the fact that we didn't have as many vendors participating in 2021, we decided to cut it back to 3. Bad decision. I should have still did it at 5 because I just don't think we had a good representation in some areas that I would have liked. Not that any of these knives missed the mark, because they all three are here for a reason. So with that being said, let me just tell you real quick about the candidates again. Number one, this knife here is called the Kudo. It comes from Anza Knives out in California. Charlie Davis is the owner, operator, and he is a master craftsman. This is one of the most beautiful knives I've ever seen. He is an expert in building knives out of files, and I've not always been a file knife fan because I've ran into some that hadn't been re-annealed right, take them out in the bush and they break on you. You're 30 miles away from anything, and now you're really in trouble. He's mastered that process, and we've probably seen 5 of his knives, I'm guessing, and none of them have failed. They've all been good. And then when he submitted this guy here, it was like, are you kidding me? Just the beauty of the knife itself, the integrity of the knife, it was right there with the other nominees, but it was a little diminutive, okay? It was a little bit small, so it was limited. If it had a bigger brother, I guarantee you that it would have been able to do everything that we asked it to do. All right, so the next one up was from SE Knives, and this is the SE3, and this one is the stainless, the S35VN, and this sucker is a sharp knife. And the way that we heard about this knife is we had several from the 182nd Air Wing Airmen that were looking for a fixed blade survival knife that wasn't too big, wasn't too small, and they came up with this one here, and they suggested that we look at it. Man, and the moment that I had this in the hand, it was like, boy, oh boy, this is a great knife. And it got nominated for Knife of the Year. Performed well, but again, it's a little bit on the diminutive side when you're talking about an all-around knife that can do everything that you need for it to do. So that led us to number 3, right here, the MSK1 Elite Warrior. Okay, this is based upon the original platform of the MSK1 from Ultimate Survival Tips, except he's really upped his game on this knife here, and we're going to get you out in the field. We're going to talk some more about this particular knife here. Right there is your 2021 Knife of the Year, and there's a reason that it has been named Knife of the Year. Hang tight. Be right back. All right, guys, welcome back. I've had a lot of people asking about when we're going to do the reveal, and we feel like we've got our winner, and we feel like it's a solid winner. But before I go into the knife itself, there's a couple things that I wanted to make clear, because, again, questions generate this response. But people are asking, how do we pick the Knife of the Year? Do we grade the steel? Do we, consider, is it a full tang? All those benchmarks that we do for a bench test. That's how we do it here at the magazine, is that when someone sends us any gear at all, before it hits the field, it goes out to our shop and it's put through a series of bench tests. And then the next step is that it will be taken out, and we will do some preliminary tests on it to make sure the knife is not going to fail or the gear isn't going to fail. And then once we are confident we have got us a solid piece of equipment, then we will take it out into the bush and put it through sometimes months of testing before we ever do an article or do a video review. On the knives, when we're talking about the knife of the year, by the time that we get there and we have picked them, we're past, the type of steel it is. We're past, does it have a good spine on it? Is it full tang? What type of point it is? Just all the things that you would normally look in during your investigation for a rock solid knife. What we're looking for is performance. Does it perform? It's made it through everything else, but now who does the best performance? That's really what it's all about. So when we got down to it, we had 3 really awesome knives. One came from Manza Knives, maker Charlie Davis, and it was called the Kudo, and it was a beautiful knife, kind of small, but it was very, very nice knife, and it was made from a file, which, we're past that. A guy like Charlie Davis, he's an artist when it comes to building knives out of files. You don't have to worry about them failing because they won't, and he guarantees them for life. And the next knife after that was the SE3, and it was a boutique stainless steel knife, but it was very, very awesome. We love that knife. And the third knife was the MSK1 Elite Warrior from Ultimate Survival Tips. David Pilzinski was the designer of that knife, and it was the, let me see, 1, 2, 3, it's the 4th generation of the knife. We originally reviewed the MSK1, I don't know, about 2017 or something like that, and it was a rock solid knife then, and it almost won Knife of the Year then, but was beaten out just by a few tenths of a point by another knife. So now here we are today, and I've got another MSK1 right here, the MSK1 Elite Warrior, and this guy right here is the 2021 Knife of the Year. I'm going to show you why, and I'm going to tell you why. As I said, at this point, we're looking at performance. Okay, we're past all that other stuff, what type of steel it is, the design, all the sexiness is going to be taken away when we get to this point. And this knife, compared to the other ones, really, it was quite a bit bigger, so I could almost say we may have been a little unfair to the other 2 offerings, but they were like night and day. But this guy is a super performer. I don't care who you stack it up against. And we'll talk about the Sheath later. But what this knife brings to the table is a series of options that you don't get with any other knife. First of all, it's still the basic body platform of the original MSK1. The steel is a little bit better. D2 was the first version, and this is the 154 CM. And I was going to look on here what else it had to say, but it's just his logo that's on there. But 154 CM is very, very good steel. This particular knife was made by Tops. Pilzinski does all the designing, and he went out and got an agreement going with Tops Knives of the USA, and they have built this knife and also just the Elite itself. And the difference in the 2 is that this one has serrations on it, and it has the secondary edge along the top. And these knives are performers. They are rock solid, and I've never had one of them. I've reviewed all 4 of his knives that he's got out there, and I've never had one of them fail, never chip on the edge, nothing. Everything was good, except on the Primitive. He has one called the Primitive, and that has wood scales versus the micarta, and we split the wood scale because it's real thin, and we were crushing something with it and missed and hit the scale, and boom, we knocked it off, and then we ended up epoxying it together. But if you look at this knife, you can see here that it has the primary edge, and then you've got this secondary edge, and then of course then you've got this serrated edge here on the top. So you got 3 cutting surfaces, and all of them have their purpose, all of them have their function. There's a reason they're on this knife. Now this is called the Elite Warrior because he designed it with tactical operators in mind. As a matter of fact, this is how this got on our radar, was because some of our readers out at 29 Palms, the Force Recon unit, wrote us and said, hey, have you seen this new knife by MSK1, that new MSK1 knife by Ultimate Survival Tips? So I reached out to David, and they were stoked about it. They wanted to know if we could review it for them, let me take a little time with it and tell them what I feel. Well, as far as a tactical knife, I don't know that you're going to get a better one than this. This does everything that you could ever imagine. It can not only cut, but it can do fine work. It can do large work. It'll make quick work out of building a sniper lay, a fire lay, and a shelter. There's all kinds of things that you can do with this knife as an operator. And it is also a great defensive and offensive weapon if necessary. And in the right hands, this knife would be very deadly. So, you know, we like it for a tactical knife. It wouldn't be only for operators, but first responders, for policemen, maybe federal agents, FBI, Homeland Security, anybody that needs a blade that is going to last them a lifetime. This is a lifetime blade. But then we had to start asking ourselves, can this tactical blade also end up being a good bush blade or a survival knife? And the answer is yes. It did everything that we asked it to do. And you know, we were not disappointed with this. The only thing that I would have to say is that when you get down to deft, fine tasks, this large blade is going to be a challenge. Now you can choke up on it. It's got a great, you can see that finger troll right there. It's huge. And you know what I have often done using it like that is I've used my middle finger and put my index finger there on the blade, and I would use it this way. But to be honest with you, I reached for the MSK1 Mini to be able to do all my fine tasks, feather sticks, making trap triggers. Although I'll be honest with you, I have made trap triggers out of this, tent stakes, and stuff like that. I mean, it's been a really good rock solid knife, even for bush tasks, you know. With this, I have built some furniture. I built a workbench with this, a wilderness workbench. We just recently did some videos where I was demonstrating how to build a mallet. I use this to build several mallets, and as I said in that video, what I do is I build several different sizes when I know that I'm going to be at a base camp, you know. And the mallet has to match the knife, has to match the task. And sometimes you want just a small little mallet just to give you a little extra weight to be able to be real fine. Or in other times you want them, you know, this long and that big around so you can actually drive axe through a piece of wood. It's being a little bit stubborn. But this not only helped me to build mallets and stuff, but I processed game with this. I cleaned some rabbits with it. Not a problem doing that. And I don't know. I don't think I did any squirrels. It was all rabbits. But it was fine. And you know, one of the things that I do when I'm cutting up my rabbit is I just don't skin it and gut it, end it there. When I'm out in the field, I do like to be able to cut it into pieces, into quarters or whatever, and that's where this serrated edge came in. It cut right through the sino, the bone, everything, made very, very quick work of it, and then to cut the ends off, all I did was come out here on it and just began to chop those, and it wasn't a big task. Now, the other thing that I want to make mention of here is on the inside of the handle. We've talked about this before, but there is a 27-piece mini survival kit in here, or micro survival kit. When he came out with his first original MSK1, I didn't like that kit. There were some things about it that was cool, just in the fact that it was in here was cool. But since that time, and he's a thinker, he's an innovator, he has upgraded almost everything on the inside of that kit to where now I would actually say you could survive off of that kit for a limited time. Just like any of those mini kits. They're not made for long-term survival. They're made for like the first 72 hours of an emergency. But inside this kit is everything that you would need. And he's done a great job on it. I just don't know what else he could do to improve it, to be honest with you. But again, he's a thinker, so you never know what is happening here. So let's talk a little bit maybe about what I consider to be a negative part of this knife, and it would be the fact that the serrations are on the top along with the secondary edge, and when you go to baton with this, I don't have a baton out here with me, but when you go to baton with this, you are going to compromise your edge a little bit here. The serrations are going to hold up, obviously, and those are easy to sharpen if you got the right piece of ceramic with you out in the field. It's a very simple thing, but I don't think that'd be wanting to use a mallet or a baton on the edge that I am going to be depending on, especially if I was in a tactical type of situation. I want the edge of that blade. It's designed that way for a reason, right? That's what it's designed for. Not just going in forward, you know, like this, but also coming up from behind and being able to execute that move that way. I've not done that with this knife, obviously, but I can tell you right now, it would do the job. As far as price is concerned, you're still hanging at just a little bit under $400. He does put it on sale. But again, what you're talking about here is a knife that has so many features. And when I covered this in a video before, but when you're talking about putting features on a knife here in the United States, everything that you do, every time that you cut this thing, every time you put the jimping here, or the jimping here, or the jimping, well, there's, 1, 2, and 3. There's 3 areas of jimping that's on this knife. That costs money to be able to do that. You're talking about the serrations. There's another feature. You're talking about adding this secondary edge. There's another feature. This large finger choll. There's another feature. And you see the 2 lashing holes that are here, and the third one that's down here. You know, we could call that a lanyard hole, but it's made for lashing. Everything that you can see about that is you know, I mean, it's a feature. The grooves in the micarta scales, that's a feature. The ferro rod striker, that is a feature. I mean, it's just all got features in it. And every time you do that, every time you touch that, there is going to be an added cost to it. So it just drives it up, 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 up. Now, he could have had this built in another country, which he's got one knife that he does do offshore. But he wanted to keep it, you know, a U.S.-made knife, a 100% USA-made knife. That's what it is. But you got to keep in mind that here in the U.S., everything's going to be more expensive, and every time that you add a feature to a knife, it's going to cost you something. So is it worth it to us? Absolutely. It is well worth the money. It's a lifetime knife. It has a lifetime guarantee with it. And, you know, he's a very stand-up guy, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, last thing that I want to cover is the sheath. The original came out with a Kydex sheath, which is, you know, a decent little sheath that it came with, and then it had an optional ballistic nylon sheath that we really loved. As a matter of fact, I still use that with the original. You know, I never did get rid of that knife. I kept it. But what David has done, and of course now I do need to make a little disclaimer here. The ferro rod holder and the MSK1 Mini does not come with this, but I didn't want to take it off, you know. But this comes with this really, really classy Kydex combat sheath. It's a tactical sheath for sure. And the way that I wear this knife, I'm not a guy that wants my belt knife all the way up in my hip, especially with a bigger knife like this. And so what I do is I put these types of knives when I was in the military, carrying my knife, I always carried my knife on my pack strap because I had it real quick. It was quick to deploy, and of course I would have a secondary knife on my neck and I'd have one in my pocket. I always had used a 3-knife system just in case. But this knife, the size of it, the weight of it, it works great on a pack strap. And this sheath, yeah, that's how quick it is. I mean, and it's quiet. That's one of the things that you got to take into consideration when you're talking a tactical sheath. You don't want to be rattling around in your AO, you know, and telegraphing your location, you know, because you're too damn noisy. Pardon my French, but that's true. You don't want to do that, you know. So he tightened this up, and I'm not sure who makes these for him, but I believe it's my man down there in Texas, and I wish I could tell you exactly. Thai Tactical. I think Thai Tactical makes these for him, or they did at one time. But for us, this is the knife of the year, hands down. We really enjoyed it. Congratulations, David. You've done it again. And this time you took home the bacon. Well worth it. Bravo to you and everybody that's there on your crew. Now, I'm going to do a little reveal here. David may not want me to do this, but I didn't ask permission, so I can't get in trouble for what I didn't know. But David's got another knife coming out. I won't tell you anything about it, except it looks nothing like this knife. And I have a feeling it's going to be his most popular version. So keep an eye out. I'm sure we'll be showing it to you sometime in the future. So you guys, let us know what you think about the video, what you think about the knife. I really want to hear some comments about this knife. And like us, share us, and become a subscriber, because when you do, you're going to be added into our monthly database for free gear. All right, there you go, guys. The 2021 Backwoods Biker Knife of the Year, MSK1 Elite Warrior, hands down, it takes the cake, man. It is everything that you're ever going to need in a knife, whether you're in a tactical situation or in a survival wilderness situation. This guy can handle the task, big or small. It can do it. Tons of features. So get out there, the ultimate survival tips. Call David and ask him whatever questions you might have. But I tell you, if you're wanting one of these knives, you better get on it right away, because he has them made in small batches, and then once they're sold, you know, right now, because of the supply chain issue, he may not be getting those in, you know, for a while. So if you're thinking about spending money on a great knife, now's the time to do it. So there's his website right down below there. It's been out throughout the video here. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. You guys ride free, you live free, and as always, be safe out there, especially when you're handling knives, right? Okay.